You know that moment, right? You've just finished a juicy orange, and you're left holding the peel, thinking, now what? Especially if you're a gardener, it's a real head scratcher. We all hate waste, but we've also heard all the scary warnings about citrus peels in the garden. Well, today, we are going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to turn that kitchen scrap confusion into pure gardening gold. So, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? For years, the common advice has been, keep those citrus peels far, far away from your compost and your plants. But is that actually based on science? Or is it just, one of those garden myths that gets passed around? Turns out, there's a real kernel of truth to the fear. And yep, this right here is why people are worried. If you just toss fresh peels straight into your garden beds, you can definitely cause some problems. As they break down, they get hot, so hot they can literally scorch the roots of your plants. At the same time, the tiny microbes working hard to decompose the peels need nitrogen to do their job, so they start stealing it from the soil, leaving your plants hungry. And of course, all that sugary goodness is like a neon sign for pests and nasty molds. So the fears, they're totally justified, but only if you're doing it wrong. So let's get into the science of it. It really all comes down to how things decompose. A fresh peel is a powerhouse of organic matter, and when you just throw it into an uncontrolled spot like your garden, it creates this chaotic little microenvironment that can do way more harm than good. This lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the fresh peel. It's hot, it's hogging nutrients, it's a pest magnet. But just look at the right side. After that same exact peel goes through a proper composting process, it's a completely different story. The temperature is stable, all those great nutrients are unlocked and available for your plants, pests couldn't care less. And it actually helps balance your soil. It's a total transformation. And this right here is the absolute key. It's not about what you're adding, it's about how you're adding it. By just changing the process from dumping to composting, you completely change the outcome. You take something that was a potential problem and turn it into one of the best things you can give your soil. And that solution, of course, is composting. It's that controlled, managed process that takes raw organic stuff and turns it into what gardeners lovingly call black gold. This is where the magic happens. This is how we turn a foe into a friend. And you can see that beautiful cycle right here. You start with your kitchen scraps, like our citrus peels. Through composting, they break down into this amazing, stable, nutrient-packed material. Then you add that back to your garden. It feeds your plants, those plants grow more food, and the whole thing starts over. It's a perfect, sustainable loop, right in your own backyard. Okay, so you're probably thinking, how do I do it? How do I actually master this process? Well, I promise it is way easier than you think. Let's walk through a super simple 4-step guide. All right, here we go. Step 1, chop up those peels. The smaller the pieces, the faster they'll break down. Simple as that. Then, mix them with what we call browns. Think dried leaves, shredded cardboard, stuff like that. That balances out the green peels. Step 2, and this is super important for citrus. You gotta neutralize that acidity. A little dusting of garden lime does the trick, making the pile a happy home for good microbes. Step 3, invite the microbes to the party. You can add a compost starter or accelerant to really kick things into high gear. And finally, step 4, cover your pile up to keep it warm and moist and give it a good turn every week or so. In about a month, maybe a month and a half, you've got finished compost. Oh, and for you vermicomposters, the worm bin folks, you have to be a bit more careful. The oils and fresh peels can be rough on your worms, so the trick is to pre-compost them. Just let the peels sit in a separate container for a week or 2 until they're not so pungent. Then add them to the bin in small amounts. Moderation is key with worms. And after you do all that, what's the reward? Well, you get the payoff. You've officially turned something that could have been a problem into an amazing, powerful, nutrient-dense fertilizer for your garden. And just look at the data here. This isn't just a hunch. Once composted, orange peels give you a great blend of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the classic NPK you see on fertilizer bags. And check out the potassium in banana peels. That is pure rocket fuel for your flowers and fruits. This is really why it all matters so much. You're looking at 2 different approaches here. Chemical fertilizers can work fast, but over time, they can harm the soil and the environment. But the organic compost we just made, it builds healthy soil for the long run, it improves structure, saves water, and protects all the little critters that live there. It's about feeding the soil, not just the plant. I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's a total transformation. You're taking something that was headed for the landfill and turning it into this precious resource that brings new life to your entire garden. That's the power of understanding the process.
And this way of thinking doesn't have to stop with citrus peels. Once you start seeing them as a resource, you start looking at your whole kitchen differently. Let me give you another quick example.
How about bone meal? It's literally just steamed and ground up animal bones. Another thing that would otherwise just be waste. But look what it does. It's an amazing organic source of phosphorus and calcium. The phosphorus helps your plants build strong roots and tons of flowers. And the calcium, that's what builds strong cell walls, basically giving your plant a sturdy skeleton. It's another perfect example of turning trash into treasure.
So that brings us to our last question for you. Now that you know the secret science of citrus peels, what else is hiding in your kitchen, just waiting to be turned into a resource? Eggshells, coffee grounds, the possibilities are literally everywhere once you stop seeing waste and start seeing potential. Thanks for tuning in.